Hey y'all, hey! I am sharing with you in this video my process for remembering the wonders of 2024 using the Illustrated Faith Kit. And I just want to talk you through my process and share a little bit about each card for each month of last year, because of course you won't be able to read my cards in a reel. This is the more personal version of this process. And I am incredibly honored and grateful to be able to participate in this for this entire week. So for day one, I thought I would do the remembering section of the kit. This is where you reflect on the 12 months. Jill created questions for us that were connected to all of the Illustrated Faith kits from 2024. And the January question is, was there a messy, hard thing last year that God made beautiful, and how did he show up during that season? And so here I documented how in January, my hubby and I had a little argument about removing the snow from the front of our home. And these two young boys showed up at our house to shovel the snow. And it turned into my husband dismissed them initially, but I told them to come back and shovel our snow. They wanted a very small fee for it. I ended up sharing about them online, and they ended up generating over $1,000 just from the online community being so proud of them. And so God showed up in that messy, hard thing and turned it into a blessing for some of our neighbors. And my hubby and I have adopted them both now as our nephews, our community nephews, and we're always so excited to see them. But you'll see here also, I had my photos printed in advance already. I kind of just went through my phone each month and printed the picture that correlated with the answer I had to the question. And I'm using the washi tape that came with the kit to adhere some of the photos and even the vellum circles to the page. So I use a 2-inch recollections punch to create all of my vellum circles. I have the questions in the background so I can just glance at them while I'm working and reflecting on the piece of vellum. I'll attach it to the card. I do want to tell you that it might be hard to write on vellum with just any pen. In this video, I'm using a Pilot multi-ball pen. It is a fine point, maybe a 0.3, and I got it on Amazon. I will link it in the description below if you'd like to find it. It's a Japanese pen, and it writes on all surfaces. It also dries very quickly. So this is one that I use to write on vellum, on glossy surfaces, when I have like stickers or washi tape that I want to write on. This is the pen to do that with. And so you'll see, even after I finish writing and adhere the piece of vellum to the card, I very quickly put it back in the sleeve because it was dry almost immediately. And so I use this pen for the entire process. I also just wanted to say that I picked my papers in advance, not to correlate with the little date ephemera pieces that show the months, but I picked them in advance to like match side by side as I turn the pages. They just happen to match the little ephemera pieces, and I think that's because Illustrated Faith just always has like colors throughout their kit, and so it was really easy to pair everything up. And so here I am moving into February. I really, really love this sunrise paper. And the question for February was, how did God prepare your heart for some of the things you experienced in 2024? And so on my little vellum circle, I selected the piece of washi that said known. And I think that it's so important to recognize that God knows us well, and that he reveals to others what they should see in us and help pull out of us. And so I'm grateful for Shauna Noel, who invited me to be one of the guest teachers for the Galentine's retreat in Kansas for Illustrated Faith this past February. And it was through that retreat that I had the opportunity to bond with other Bible loving sisters and also just fellowship. Fellowship was very important. So, the way he prepared my heart is I had to use that February experience to learn later in the year how important it is to uplift others and humanize leadership. I had to do that in so many ways throughout this year at work, in my personal life, in the faith community. And I always think back to how those women felt when I led my workshop. And that's how I always want women or anyone to feel around me. And I did try very hard throughout the year to do that, but there were so many moments of frustrations I almost allowed it to fall apart. But God, rich in mercy, revealed to me each time that He knows me and that I had a purpose, and I had to fulfill that purpose throughout the year using the memories of that experience. And so here I'm preparing to make my March card. This is, I also just want to say, these are very simplistic pieces that I'm putting together. You'll essentially just see me adhere a photo, the little ephemera piece with the month on it, and then you'll see me cut the circle from the vellum and add the washi piece. I wanted to keep this simple because there are a lot of activities to do in this kit, of course, throughout the month, but I essentially am attempting to do this throughout this week. And so I often document my year. This is not an unfamiliar process for me, but I wanted to do it in the way that Jill had set this up for the kit. And so March asked, how did you live in joyful obedience last year? And in this photo, I'm actually standing with colleagues in my school district, and I have struggled with connecting with some of my colleagues in the past. And I think a lot of it could be my outspokenness in how I feel about education and my school district, so on and so forth. But I was asked to speak to youth and their parents at this event. And I accepted it, even though I knew I would be walking into a space where a lot of people may not have agreed with my beliefs around education. But that event turned out so well. It was a joyful experience. So many people were appreciative of what I had to offer in that presentation, in the panel that I was on. And I'm just grateful that I was obedient and not thinking that I didn't want to go because of the people who would be there. So it's so important to be obedient. You never know how, when, and where God is going to use you. So then we go to April, and this is one of my favorite months of the year because it's the month where it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I usually use that month to advocate against sexual assault and abuse. But in 2024, I took a break from that and I went abroad with a group of women that I love dearly. And so for the April question, it asked, which words from Proverbs 31 best describe the last year? And then it gave a list of words that you could select from. And from that list, I selected the word blessing because y'all, these photos that I'm attaching for April were from me visiting Japan. And I cannot tell you how many years I put that on my vision board, in my goal sheets and planners and journals. I mean, for years, since I was 14 or 15 years old, I have dreamed of visiting Japan. And I just believe that, with all I had going on in my life and being obedient to God, I believe He just blessed me with that opportunity. So I accepted that blessing full-heartedly. And I also put this photo specifically on top as a little nod to Shauna Noel, who thought it was hilarious that I wasn't a Disney fan before this trip, but was decked out Disney by the end of our trip to Disney World in Tokyo. So, little nod to Shauna, and another photo from that trip underneath. I attached the word grateful from the washi because that's essentially how I felt incredibly grateful to be a part of that experience. Also, you'll see that I add my little monthly tab sometimes hanging off the photo, and that's to alert me that that is a flip. So I can flip that up and see another photo underneath. And so, because they're in little plastic sleeves, I think these are maybe 3.5 by 5 size or a little smaller. I wanted to not pull the cards out if I didn't need to. So the ones that have a little tab looking month on them, let me know. Pull this one up, sis. And so again, I punched out a circle vellum. I'm writing on it with my multi-surface Pilot pen. And then I move to my next one. One thing I want to say before I go to the next month is one thing you won't see in this video is me attaching my washi, not washi, my scallop strips to the edges of these sleeves. I want to have washi sleeves where they're punched out on every card. Now I don't know if I'm going to have enough for the entire book, but I at least wanted to start. I started this way, and I at least wanted to get through the remembering section, which I will be able to do with the amount that I currently have, but you won't see that in this video. So in my reel, which is going to be linked in the description below, you will see the washi, or I'm sorry, the scallop strips of stickers that I attached to the edges of these cards. And also, I use a lot of I use staples. I use clear, transparent tape to adhere things. I also use clear, transparent tape to make the photos flip up and down because you can see through it. It's a glossy tape as well. I don't like the frosted one because it adds like a layer on over top of the photos that I don't want. I also use a tape roller to attach things to the page. And I don't use a lot of that roller tape because essentially it's going to sit in the sleeves, so I don't have to worry so much about things moving. Also, I had a little space inside here when I moved my piece of vellum. And so these are the stickers that I use on the edges of the sleeves. And I always have one that I have to cut off because they're longer than the sleeves. So the one scallop that I've been saving from each one that I've cut, I took 3 of them to make another little strip of scallops underneath the photo, and I added the word remember because, of course, this is the remembering the wonders section. And also, Japan was just something I always want to remember. And so I thought this was the most appropriate place to put that piece of ephemera. So now moving on to May. I am loving this background paper. I just like this. It looks like brush strokes, acrylic paint strokes. And I love how my friend's top matches that lime citron green at the bottom of this. And so the May question asks, which fruit of the spirit do you see evidence of in 2024? It lists them all out, and then it says pick 1 or 2 to document the story. And y'all, I'm just being real honest. I saw all the fruit show up last year in me in different and varying ways throughout the year. This particular month, the lady featured in this photo was my teacher mentor over 20 years ago when I started as a new teacher. And 20 plus years later, I still show up for her birthday and for special occasions. And she actually told me this was at her birthday party in May at a restaurant that she so appreciated me being there. I'm usually the youngest person there. And I sit with all of her friends who are more around her age, and I'm able to embrace the wisdom that they have to offer and share, and then also just be jovial and make them laugh and show appreciation for how far they've come and what they've accomplished and achieved. And she just always loves when I can bring that energy into her space. And so her pulling me to the side to say, thank you so much for being here. I just love how you show up meant a lot to me. And so this picture expresses that. That smile on her face means a lot to me. She means a lot to me. Her name is Miss Bullock. If you want to lift her up in your prayers as she needs them at this time, as she goes through ebbs and flows as we all do, but I always want to keep her lifted. But the fruit of the Spirit also shows up greatly in her, and I'm incredibly grateful to have her in my life. So the washi word that I added to this page was love, because I truly love this woman and grateful for how she's taught me through the example of her life how to show up in the world with the fruit of the spirits. And I'm moving on to June. Now we in the summer, y'all. It didn't take me long to get here because I've kept this process very simple. But I recognize and remember that I need to add some of the other parts of the kit that I cut out. And so there was a 3 photo strip. I cut it down into 2 and 1 so that I could put them side by side. And so for June, I wanted to highlight this photo that I found of the kit that I participated in, Summer in the Psalms, that was led by my dear friend Lauren. I wrote the devotional around Psalm 93. And June's question was, how did you glorify God last year? Did he help you grow in wisdom? What are you most grateful for? And so I believe that my glorification of God was through writing for the Illustrated Faith Kit for the summer. I believe that when we write about God and we leave behind the testimonies of the great things he's done, that's a way to glorify him, even beyond what we could know or see. I don't know whose hands are going to touch that devotional. I don't know all the people who will read it, but I do know that it leaves behind an incredible story of how great our God is. And so I'm just glad that she invited me to experience that and allowed me to bring a friend along as well. And I added the word sing because from the washi, because Psalms were songs during biblical times. And so I will continue to write about God's goodness. I do it every day in my journal, and to do it in a space that's published and shared among so many people broadly is an honor. And the little message in the pink box says, many are the wonders you have done. And when I look at that photo, I think about all the kits and devotionals I've written, not just for Illustrated Faith, but in general, to encourage others. And I believe that a way to glorify God is to spread the message of his good works. And I feel that I do that quite often. And I will continue as long as I am alive. And so you'll see me wind up my little journaling. I tried to stick to writing just enough that fills the circle, the vellum circle that I attach to each card, so that I don't overdo the work. And then I moved into July. I used the other half of that photo strip. So I put 2 pictures that correlated with each other on this one. And so in the month of July, I taught 2 in-person Bible journaling classes, one for my church and the other for another church. And so I put those photos top and bottom in the order that they occurred. And then on the back, I put another photo that went with the question. And the question for July was, did you have anything to lament last year? Did God ask you to surrender something? And how did you praise him throughout those seasons? Y'all, while I am smiling in these photos, July was a month where I had a lot of transition that I was experiencing with my experiences in my church, transitions on my job. It was just so much transition. And the work transition was hard for me because, and that's why there's a photo attached on the back of me sitting at my desk, because that actually was a new office space for me. And I have had a different supervisor every year for the past 4 years, and it's just been hard because it feels almost like the work that you do is just being passed around from person to person, almost as if it doesn't matter. And I was struggling with and grieving losing a supervisor that I loved and appreciated. And so I lamented a lot of things. I surrendered trying to worry about what was next on my job and just leaving it in God's hands. And during that month, again, I was obedient to God, even though I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to enjoy my summer and be left alone. When the opportunities came up for me to teach Bible journaling, I accepted them and walked into those spaces fully holding on to God and knowing and believing that He was going to show up instead of retreating and saying no to these opportunities and just staying to myself, which is essentially what I wanted to do. Because I was obedient, because I surrendered my skill and talent to serve Him during a heavy time that none of these people were aware of. Many people were blessed and started their own Bible journaling journeys as a result of what they learned in my classes. And so this looking at these photos is a testimony to me that it's not about you, girl. It's not about you, even in hard times. It's not about us. Even when we're struggling, there's a way to give God glory. And sometimes you got to dig deep for that because it's hard to come out of your own feelings to feel God. But when you do, it doesn't just benefit you. Of course, I felt good after each experience, but it made me feel even better to know that God was lifted up in a great way. So that was my July experience. And you'll see here, I added a little bit of journaling on the back under my office photo because I thought it was important to give a voice to how I talked about my gratitude part on the vellum circle because that's easily seen. But on the back, I wrote about what I had to surrender and how I was struggling with the loss of my supervisor. So moving on, we go into August, which is a very important month for me each year because, so much happens. My anniversary, my husband's birthday, the birthday of a cousin. It's just like August is just filled with all these things. And then in this particular year, there were a lot of trips planned in August. The photo that I used is of my husband and I in Virginia Beach, celebrating our 19-year anniversary. We are standing in front of the Poseidon statue on the Virginia Beach boardwalk. We got up in the mornings and walked that to watch the sunrise, and it was such a beautiful experience to experience with him, with my husband. And so the question for August was, in what ways have you connected with God more deeply in the quiet, still moments? And y'all, it takes a level of discipline and responsibility to get up as early as we did so we could see the sunrise as we walked. Especially at a time when you feel like you're vacationing, you just want to sleep in and relax. But we were intentional about getting up and spending that time with each other. But I believe that marriage is a ministry, and not just in the sense of getting married, but how you stay married and how you stay connected to your spouse. I think that's a testament to God's power in the relationship. And so I believe that I connected with God through connecting with my husband. We intentionally slowed down. We intentionally walked multiple mornings together on the boardwalk and seeing the sunrise. I had another photo of him and I standing in front of the sun rising. But I have so many things to document, so I left that picture off. But I just believe that our marriage is a testimony of God's power and goodness. I love my husband dearly, but I won't tell you we not had any bumps in over the years. Of course, all relationships do. But the fact that we have been able to bounce back each time from all of the bumps, to me, is a divine connection. And I am grateful for the still and quiet moments that I've been able to spend with him. hear his heart and he hears mine, and then watching something as beautiful as the sunrise, something that no one can create, something that only God can control, and to watch that as God controls our marriage. So that was my documentation for August. And I also did not use these numbers the way Jill did. So she used them to like number some of her things that she was writing about. I used them to recognize milestones. So you'll see me, I think you saw me use 24 earlier to document 2024. Or maybe I'm thinking ahead. So I'm thinking ahead. You'll see that soon. But I use the numbers differently. And here I start to document September. This, I would say, is my favorite background paper from the paper kit. I love the lavender right next to the periwinkle in the blush color. I think, oh, that's just a beautiful combo. But for September, I had a couple of photos that I wanted to highlight for the question. And so I make this like, you see me like thinking through the order I want my photos in. And that was so I could make a little accordion flip so I could look at all of the photos. And I'm going to use the September ephemera tab to pull the accordion up and down, but I wanted to put them in a particular order. Also wanted my top picture to match the paper. So you'll see me and my little nephew, Sire, on the top. My other nephew, King, underneath, and me with my sister, who is the mother of my two nephews. And you'll also see me with my co-worker. She's the one that I'm like fake kissing. I like fake kissing people. But I'll tell you a little bit about her after I tell you the question. And then on the bottom photo that's attached to the card is a photo of me presenting at an education conference. And so the question for September was, what new insights have you learned about God by studying scripture, either through the Word Nerd study or on your own? And man, my studying God's word throughout the year varied in topics and discoveries. And I believe that God taught me through his words in the Bible that he will show up for me and that he will show up through me at work, in my family, and wherever else he needs me to be. And so these photos document that. God showed up for me by allowing me to meet my nephews, see them, spend time with them. I mean, we bonded so much, so well. And also to be able to spend time with my sister is priceless. And so I appreciate how he showed up for me, but I also appreciate how he shows up through me. So the picture of me and my coworker that I was kissing, she is one who calls me her coach. I was her coach for a couple of years before she left that position. And even now in her new position, anytime she sees me, she says, that's my coach. And one of the reasons why she says that about me is because of the spiritual conversations we're able to have. And I appreciate that too, because, you know, people say you got to separate those things from work. But when you find somebody within the job who shares like faith with you and wants to talk about God and those things, it's a beautiful blessing to have in a space that can sometimes be hard. And so on this particular day, I showed up at her school to coach another teacher, but she needed me. And so I met her in her office and we had our moment to talk her through what she was experiencing. I gave her some advice, just like I had done in the past, and she was so incredibly grateful. She actually was the one who said, I want to take a picture with you. And so I just told her to send it to me after, but of course, you know, kissy face. And underneath that photo of her and I is a photo of me on stage speaking into a mic. And I was the only person who was not from that school district on that stage. I was invited because of the person organizing it believed that I had a wealth of knowledge around the topic of centering students and advancing equity in education. And so I just appreciate, again, God showing up through me, because the things that I had to offer really touched the hearts of a lot of the teachers who sat in the audience. And they came up to me after and expressed that. And so I was just like, wow, God, I didn't even know I was going to be the only one. Like, you really used me today, bro. So I was just grateful. And so that was what God taught me through his word throughout the year. And that showed up strong in September. So here you'll see me cut my vellum circle again, limiting myself to the writing space within that 2-inch circle. And then also just making sure that I have my monthly tab hanging off that photo. So as I turn the pages of my mini album, I know to pull this card out so I can see what other photos are included. And y'all, by the time I got here, I was feeling the feels. Like, as you reflect on these things and journal about it, it's powerful, it's impactful to think about each month how God showed up in you, through you, around you, for you. It's just all the prepositions can go in front of God and what he does. And it's all preparation for how he wants us to live among his people on the earth. And so I'm just happy to be remembering all these wonderful things that God has done for and through me. And then as I close and wrap up September, I go into October. October, for those of you who know me personally, is also a very important month for me. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I did not feature purple on this tag because there's purple featured in the photos. So I was like, it's okay, LaQuisha, everything is not purple, y'all. I'm trying to try new color palettes, so you'll see that I'm embracing some new colors this year, and everything is not purple and teal anymore, and I'm really proud of myself for that. But the question for October was, how did you notice God in the beauty around you and throughout the year? And I don't know if you know, but I actually documented a photo a day, every day, the month of October, of something beautiful in nature. Mary's kit really inspired me, the art of noticing. I have done things like that before where I took a picture each day. I do that actually for my journaling and my planner. I take a photo every day to represent the day, and I put it on a monthly spread inside of my journal. But I intentionally focus on nature in October instead of just a photo that represented the day. Because those photos could be like the ones here where it's me and a person at an event. That could be what I put in my journal. But for October, I would take a photo of something natural at the event, like a bouquet of flowers in the middle of a table, or the sky during the day, during the event. Like I focused on things like that in October, and that was a really powerful experience, especially when I lined all those photos up side by side in my journal and saw them together. It was just awe-inspiring. And so I documented in photos how I also not only noticed the beauty around me, which is represented by the first photo of me in a shirt that Mary sent me that says The Art of Noticing, but I also continued my advocacy for survivors, which is documented through the photos behind that picture. And so there's a collage photo of the women who submitted a photo to me of them wearing purple. You'll see Shauna Noel, Bridget, just a lot of people in the journaling community that I appreciate supporting me in these endeavors for all of these years. And then above that, you will see a friend and I, Desiree. She actually came to a gala to see me speak and share as a part of the event for a local organization that I represent. And it just meant a lot to me to see her there, because I don't imagine that people would come to an event just because I said I was going to be there. And I just really appreciated her coming to me. She said, I'm here because of you. And I was like, wow, I love you, girl. But it was just another way that God's beauty showing up around me, right? Like she showed up for me, and that was beautiful. So I had to document that for October as well. And you'll see here also, I used the 2 and the 4 from Jill's numbers to put 24 in the number part of this paper to represent 2024. So again, I wasn't using the numbers the way Jill did, but that's okay, y'all, as long as we're using it, right? So, and I love how the colors of everything go with whatever page you put it on or whatever you put it beside. And so here I go again, vellum circle, documenting the answer to this question on this small space. And I'm glad that I limited myself, because I could go on and on about a lot of these topics, which would have probably made this process longer than it needed to be. And I may not have finished it because I might have tried to write too much. And so this gave me a way to finish this within a good amount of time, a decent amount of time. It essentially took me about an hour and a half to document all 12 months of 2024 using the kit. And so I am finalizing my thoughts here and writing with my Pilot multi-surface pen. And I'm going to attach that vellum to the page also underneath the little tab I made of October, so that I can pull that up and look at the photos that I made out of an accordion. And you'll see I didn't add as much ephemera as I thought I would. I don't know if it's just because I was concentrating on the journaling part. I intended to, which is why I had it out in front of me, but I really didn't gravitate to that as much as I thought I would. And so here I start to document the next month, which is November. And I really like this one because these colors are bold, and so are the ladies featured in the photos. So for October, I'm sorry, November, the question is, looking at the bigger picture of the entire year, what are you grateful for? Or what are you thankful for? And, initially when I picked these photos, I was thinking, oh, I'm grateful for travel, because I traveled a lot in 2024. I mean, I think I went on about 6 trips throughout the entire year. But when I looked at these pictures a little harder, I said, no, it's bigger than travel. And essentially it said looking at the bigger picture. And so what I decided these photos represented to me of what I was thankful for is true sisterhood. Shauna and Talia, of course, are the ladies featured in these photos for November, because they are the two that I spent a lot of time with in November on this spontaneous trip to the other side of the country. I live on the East Coast, and we traveled all the way to the West Coast together, Talia and I, to visit Shauna and to have an experience together for a weekend. But what I love the most is how each of us looked out for each other, how we loved on each other, all the things that each of us had been through throughout the year. Each of us experienced something hard, and we each showed up for each other in different ways. And I'm just so thankful at the end of the year, regardless of who stayed, who left, who came, who turned, whatever. These two represented true sisterhood for me, and something that I'm incredibly grateful for from the 2024 year. And of course, I have additional friends who also define true sisterhood for me. But in the month of November, these were the two who showed up strong. And so I just wanted to highlight these special moments that we spent in Washington and in Oregon together. And so I go to my final month of December, and I have this, I think this has the most pictures out of all the days or months that are journaled about. And the question for December is, it says, how did you shine bright for Jesus this past year? And so initially I was thinking about those who shine in the month of December to me. And so I gravitated to my nieces the niece on the cover photo, her name is Natalie, and some of my friends have met her in person at my retreat. But she came in third place in her gymnastics tournament in Baltimore. They actually were here, and I went to see her live, and it was so special. I will never forget the moment when she looked up and saw that I was there. Her face lit up. She was like waving vigorously, and I was so touched in my heart. Like, I love this little girl, like I can't even describe. I love both of my nieces and nephews, and they each, I think I have a special relationship with each one of them, and it can look a little different for each one. But Natalie loves when you see her and watch her, and so I was happy to do that. I was happy to spend some time with Naomi, who is her sister, and she's absolutely beautiful. We ended up having a conversation about her hoodie she was wearing. She was telling me about it. It's the Dandy brand. And so I was reading it and I said, oh, this is an encouraging clothing. And so her and her mother, she wanted to gift that to me for Christmas, and so they sent me my own Dandy hoodie for Christmas, and I think about her every time I see it. And then also I attached photos of my mentee and my dear mentee that I taught as a ninth grade English student, who was also in my Queendom Tea mentoring program. She came back to Baltimore and said she wanted to see me. And so we had lunch together and an empowering conversation about taking care of herself as an adult. And also you'll see a photo of my crown tiered patrons on Zoom with myself and the author of the book that we read together called Sacred Creativity. And the author, Gina Holiday, she showed up as a surprise to them on the Zoom. And so I believe that these were the ways I was able to shine bright for Jesus just in the month of December. I showed up for my family, I showed up for my patrons, and I showed up for my mentee. And just reflecting on the year, I was able to show up for the community, show up for you all. And so I just believe my light shined real, real bright, y'all. I hope I can keep it on, though. Woo, praise the Lord. It's getting wild out here, but as long as you keep God in the center of all you do, it will work out. And so here I'm doing my final little bit of journaling about the wonders of December, how I shine for Jesus in 2024. And I attach my little accordion tab to this card. Now, I thought about, you'll see me when I finish journaling, I'll attach some stars. I think I attached one to a card earlier as well. These stars came out of the Happy Mail package from Shauna that was sent for the Shine Bright kit in December. And so, we don't throw anything away. I took those stars out the mail and stuck them to the side and said, oh, I'll use this for something. And as I stapled them to all these different pictures and cards, I thought to myself, I want more stars. And I need the sparkling ones. And so I purchased additional stars, sticker stars from the Illustrated Face shop. And I'll link that below in the description as well if you're interested in getting your own. These stars, these gold stars, are so sparkly. And so I was thinking about when you shine for Jesus, that's the kit that these stickers came with as well. When you shine for Jesus, you sparkle, you really shine. Like, it's not a dull light, it's a bright light. And those stickers are very sparkly. And I wanted to add a bit of sparkle to each card that I had created. And so I started with this one by adding some of those stars, like I'm doing here, to the last card I did, which was December. But then you'll see me go back and add at least a star or two to each of the other cards that I created for the year also. And that is because I feel like I shined all year. Each card I made, whether it was a challenge or not, It was an opportunity to show up in the world showing God. And I'm grateful for that. And everything I talked about in this video and everything I did on these cards is what Jill means when she says, remember the wonders. God did some wonderful things for all of us in 2024 and beyond. And when you sit down and intentionally think about all of it and you can document that, this is also leaving behind a legacy for a generation that will come behind us, or people who will one day leave behind. And they'll be able to read this and say, wow, my family member, my mom, my sister, my aunt, my whoever, she lived a great life and she did things for the Lord. You don't know how this could be used to turn into a testimony to encourage others. And so, as I finalize my last couple of sticker additions here, I just want to encourage you that if this has been a hard year for you already, or if it becomes a hard year, try to find the things that God is doing, how He's using you, how He's using others around you, and document that. Because even through those hard times, you'll have this to fall back on as an encouragement to yourself. I believe in encouraging ourselves and not leaning on other people to always have to give us that encouragement. I believe that God not only left us His word, but He leaves us our own testimonies that we can fall back on and remember His wonders in a time that doesn't feel so wonderful. And so now I'll have the whole year of 2024 documented. I really have the last couple of years documented, y'all, to be quite honest. But in all of the documentation of all of the years that I have done, it's all beautiful things where God, in beautiful ways, where God has shown up. So if you have not gotten this kit, and it is around the middle of the month now, you can still pick this up from illustratedfaith.com. You also can get a digital version and just do the parts that resonate with you. Also, I want to recognize that today is National Sticker Day, and so you'll have to watch my reel to see the very beautiful and special sticker that I add to the front of my mini binder. I did that in the reel so that you watch it. But also, I just love to hear your thoughts below. What did you think of this documenting process? Would you do it? Have you done it already? What's been your biggest wonder from 2024, or anything else you feel comfortable sharing? But I do appreciate you joining me in this process. I hope that you join me again for the rest of the week as I continue to share the wonders of God. Thanks for joining, y'all. Bye.